Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of HSP TV. I am your host, Barbara, and today I am joined by the wonderful Sibylle Ansley. And we are going to be talking about how to find your life partner as a highly sensitive person or an empath. And I've been really looking forward to this talk, Sibylle, because it is something that plays a huge role in almost every highly sensitive person or empath that I've ever met. And I haven't been able to talk about it with someone yet. So I'm very, very grateful that you're here today.
Oh, thank you for this introduction. And I totally agree. I think I would consider myself an HSP as well. And dating and relationships were a topic for me that was extremely difficult in the past.
Mm.
So I know intimately the challenges around that.
Mhm.
And mainly women that I work with now, they often have very similar challenges as well.
Yeah.
So as much as we all need and want great relationships, um, they can also be a source of great pain and heartache and struggle.
Yes, for sure. And one of the things that I often get asked about that is one of the reasons why it's difficult is that with our open heart and our giving nature, we tend to attract a lot of people that you don't want to be in a relationship with, like narcissists or sociopaths or other people who are not really capable of giving back the same amount of love that we are giving to the other person, which makes the relationship unbalanced, right?
Right. So when I think about being a highly sensitive person, or even just very sensitive, I would also say introverted. Um, on the one hand, I really see it now as a gift, and I'm sure a lot of us can agree that
Mhm.
it just means we have a very rich inner world. We
Yes.
feel deeply, we think deeply, and that's wonderful. But then the flip side is often that other people are not like that, or not everyone is obviously like that.
Mhm.
And it can be a real struggle to protect our sensitivities
Yes.
and not to go into overgiving, to have really good boundaries. Um,
Yeah.
Otherwise, it can really become challenging and almost like it can feel like a burden,
Mhm.
the sensitivity, and that's a shame because it doesn't have to be.
No, I totally agree with you. Everybody, every single person that I've ever had the honor of helping has shared with me that they wanted to get rid of it and that they saw it as a burden and that it was making their life unpleasant. And then I'm being kind. So that is the general consensus. And when it comes to relationships, we tend to sort of morph into the other person. If somebody has different interests than we have, we are very open to exploring those interests as well because we are very open and a lot of things interest us. And if we are not being careful and if we don't guard what we like enough, then it won't take long for a couple to only do his things and listen to his music and do his interests, and you sort of lose yourself in the relationship if you're not being careful.
Oh, absolutely. So what you're describing, that sounds like people pleasing,
Yeah,
right? It it
to an
is.
extent. To an extent, it is people pleasing, for sure. But there's also a part in it that we just are really very open to exploring new things.
And again, that's wonderful.
Yes.
And that's something to preserve because in a relationship that is again enriching, And it also means that the relationship stays fresh and exciting.
Mhm.
So that is actually a part of the recipe for a great relationship.
Yes.
Have an open mind, be interested in the other person and curious, and always assume that you can still grow and learn things from each other.
Mhm.
But at the same time, of course, in relationships, um, what is so important, and especially for an HSP, I think not easy, is that we have to also be our own person.
Mhm.
We have to maintain our own space, to be able to recharge. Big topic for us, right?
Yeah.
Um, I don't know about you, but I easily get drained. Being with people, and depending on the kind of person, it can cost me really a lot of energy.
Mhm.
Um, and so that was one of my big worries actually when I was last single. So after I got divorced, and I was clear about that, that I wanted to be with someone, so I have a partner again. But one of my fears was actually, wow, what's that going to be like, having to share my space again with someone?
Mhm.
Because my ex-husband actually worked a lot. So it was never that much of a topic, that I felt I didn't have enough space.
Yeah.
So learning how to be part of a couple where, of course, you merge certain areas of your life and interests, and that's great. But at the same time, really staying true to yourself. That's that's a challenge, can be.
Yes, especially, and it also greatly depends on what stage in your personal development journey you're already in.
Right.
If you are still very much in the beginning space where you see it as a burden and where you do not have clear boundaries and you don't protect your boundaries and you're still the open sponge that sucks up everybody's energy, then it's very easy to become overwhelmed. And if there's then no space for you to retreat because you live together in a tiny apartment and there is no extra space for you, then that places a huge burden on you, which can lead to a whole lot of things that you don't want. So that definitely can be challenging. And then even when you're growing as a person, when you are learning more about yourself and you're learning to assert yourself, that doesn't always go over well with your current partner. So that often also leads to a breakup with that partner because they're used to you being, well, I called myself a doormat because I did everything for everybody, and people get used to you being that way, acting that way. And when you suddenly start to change, that doesn't always sit well with people. And when it is in a relationship and the partner cannot support you in your growth and is also not willing maybe to grow with you himself, then that tends to lead to the end of a relationship. So it's definitely very challenging to, well, first discover who you are. Know really in every fiber of your being, this is who I am, this is what I love, this is what I stand for, this is what I need, and this is what I want and feel I deserve. Then, yeah, challenging.
And I'm totally with you. It's a process.
Yeah.
And ideally, we so if we think of a curve, yeah, we want to get to a point where we are strong enough and clear enough about who we are. We can set boundaries, we protect our sensitivities, while at the same time also not downplaying them. So loving who we are, right? And seeing the beauty and the wealth in that. And then we get to a threshold in our development where we are strong enough that we can be with someone intimately and not lose ourselves.
Yes.
And that's where it's beautiful. It's still sometimes challenging. I've been with my husband now, my second husband, for 8 years. And I can still feel it when he goes away on a business trip for a few days.
Mm.
And let's say my son is with my ex-husband. So I'm home alone,
Mm-hmm.
only with our cat. Then I can really, it's almost like there is this uncoiling of a tight spiral inside of me.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, I don't have to take care of anyone.
Yeah.
I don't have to be attuned to other people's needs all the time, which is so second nature for me.
Yes. For most of
And
us.
and even though, you know, I've made a lot of progress and I've worked a lot on myself and I've learned to really take me time and say, no, I can't do this for you right now. I'm going for a walk by myself. Bye.
Yeah.
Um, it's still a relief sometimes to be completely by myself.
Mm-hmm. Yes, especially as an introverted, highly sensitive person. And
Right.
so about 70% of all highly sensitive people are introverted, which means that you recharge when you are by yourself.
Right.
And how do you recharge by yourself when you're in a relationship and you're living together in the same house? And that can be challenging, and that usually requires you to either leave the house, go for walks and recharge by yourself, or do activities by yourself, or your husband has to leave the house and then you can do it in the house.
Look, and that is all possible. And this is where also I want to encourage everyone that you don't have to give up on the idea of finding a great partner and having a great relationship if you're an introverted HSP. But we have to have great awareness of
Hmm.
these things,
Yes.
and then
And of
really
self.
honor of ourselves, honor our needs, take care of them, and of course, choose the right partner.
Hmm.
So, my husband is also introverted. He's a different kind of introvert,
Hmm.
but we actually complement each other very well. And we have great communication.
I think that's the most important element. As long as you can talk about it and come from a place of willing to understand each other. And if I can't understand you, then at least accept you as you are.
Right.
That is beautiful.
Right. So I know that I can say to him, you know what, I feel I'm so tense at the moment, and I just need quiet time. For example, I'm going to sleep in a different room tonight. I'm not
Hmm.
going to sleep with you in the same bed even, because sometimes, you know, I feel that even that is too much for me.
Hmm.
Um, and then he's never upset and he never asks, oh, but why? He just simply says, whatever you need. Okay. Do you want me to sleep like on the couch
Yeah.
so that you can have a better night? So
That's
yeah,
beautiful.
when we really care about each other, um, and I would say that this is really the thing. If you are single and if you want to be with someone, but in a way that you feel fulfilled and that you can flourish, um, just pay really good attention to what it is that you need. Um, take care of that for yourself while you are single, but then in dating, really test people. You know, how much of an interest do they show in you and who you are and what you need, and is there give and take, and is the communication and all of that.
Yes. There needs to be give and take, and someone needs to add something to your life that makes it worth it. Because I think you should not depend your happiness on somebody else. That's not the way to be in a relationship. You should already be very happy by yourself and make yourself very happy. And then a partner, in my opinion, is then an addition to that happiness. Someone to share the happiness with, and maybe make the happiness even brighter. Although it's already very bright when you're by yourself, it needs to be something that adds something of value to your life. And a lot of people don't see it that way. For a lot of people, it's still, I cannot be alone. I need someone in my life because, well, I cannot be alone.
And you know what? I empathize with that because that was me as well. Um, I I have struggled a lot with anxiety in my life,
Mhm.
which I think is also common for highly sensitive people
Can be, yes.
because so many things affect us and they affect us strongly. You know, what do we do with all of these emotions all the time?
Yeah.
Um, so so I remember feeling feeling like life was just too much for me at times, especially when I was divorced. My son was still little. I was working two jobs. And I just felt overwhelmed all the time. I wasn't sleeping well. I was still
Mhm.
drinking coffee and alcohol, which I since discovered, you know, are really not good for me. Um, and I also had this feeling of, oh my God, I just wish there was someone who I could lean on to make my life easier,
Yeah.
you know. And actually, I see now as much as that back then came from a place of neediness and
Mhm.
and not having done the work myself to be able to calm down and rest in myself. But at the same time, I still recognize that thinking of I just know that life is so much easier when we have someone who is close to us, who is on our team, who supports us no matter what. It does make so many things so much easier.
Mhm.
And that is absolutely the case.
Yeah. I believe it 100%. And last Sunday, I bought a new couch for myself, and I came to the conclusion that I wasn't able to get the old couches out by myself or get the new couches in by myself. Even if I went out and rented a vehicle in which to transport them, then I was still physically just not able to carry those things into the house or into the truck.
Yeah, I mean that is a very concrete everyday life example of a physical um, thing that you know we are as women sometimes just not capable of doing the way a man can. Um, so that makes life easier when you can just say to your guy, "Hey, can you take care of that?" But then there's also just all the mental, emotional stuff.
Yeah, it's really nice to be able to talk to someone about things or to ping pong off of someone.
And then this is part of my mental, emotional hygiene that with my husband we talk every day and we talk, you know, in depth and so often I say to him, hey, can I just run this by you and get your thoughts and a different perspective maybe?
Hmm.
And
Yes.
yeah, it just immediately lightens things up and
I
yeah.
love that you're saying that because a lot of highly sensitive people, especially when they're stepping into their gift, have a need for this. It's not that you cannot make decisions by yourself, but sometimes you just want to see, am I forgetting something? Am I missing something? Is this really, am I seeing this clearly? Am I seeing it correctly? A variety of reasons. But it's really nice to just be able to brainstorm with someone.
Oh, and here I would say that is not an HSP thing, that is a general human being thing. Um,
Nice.
that you know we are bad at thinking things through on our own in our own head only.
Hmm.
That is extremely hard.
Yes. You keep
Um,
ending up in the same circle usually.
exactly.
Yes. Yeah, so I see that value of it, and I think a lot of us also long for it. But I also know that there's a quite a large group, not just women, also men, but I think in general more women than men. Sorry, men, that have been single for quite some time, that have been single for 8, 9, 10 or more years. because they've been working on themselves. They've been doing their journey of self-discovery. Depending on what line you are, maybe you needed to go up on the roof or the mountain to, accumulate all your experiences and learn your lessons from it before you're ready to come down. And that also means that you've created a life for yourself where you came to depend on yourself and you're used to sleeping in your bed by yourself, cooking your meals by yourself, taking yourself everywhere you need to go, and arranging or organizing everything that needs to happen. So I know from them, they, on the one hand, would like to have a partner, especially when they're in their midlives, so 40s, 50s, 60s. They're not ready to just spend the rest of your life by yourself. So you would like a partner, but it's also, on the one hand, sharing everything again, right? When you're used to it yourself, but also how to find a partner that also has done the work on themselves, that you can form such a match with.
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot in what you just said. Because that's really what I work with all the time.
Mm.
And okay, so on the one hand, there is this piece of developing myself and working on the relationship with myself, which is, I would say, a critical piece. And everyone should really do that and take some time out when they come out of a relationship, to process, to check in with themselves, to understand, okay, what was my contribution to that relationship failing? Because we always have a contribution.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree.
And take those pieces and then really work on that so that I don't repeat old mistakes in my next relationship. Um, so so that is important. And here comes the but. But in order to have a relationship with someone else, there are certain skills involved that we only practice in relationships, really.
Mhm.
So, especially when I'm living by myself, which of course at a certain age then is more likely because, also like a lot of us here are probably quite intelligent, and we are good at what we do job wise, and then we make good money, and then we can afford to live on our own, and that's all good. But then we lose certain things, and
Mhm.
we really lose that. It's not like because we're human beings we're always good at having relationships. We just have to find the right person and then everything works out.
Yes.
That's a myth. um, Skills like, and we know that, for example, from the pandemic.
Mm.
After not going out for a while and not really being with people for a while, I think it was hard for a lot of us to have this lightness and openness again, approaching others and being carefree about it, and just making small talk, and which can anyway be difficult for introverts.
Mhm.
So, and in a relationship, there are then much more sophisticated skills that we need, like how do I build trust and intimacy with someone?
Mhm.
How do we have communication and conflict? How are we with each other when one of us is really stressed and going through a tough time? What happens when one of us or both of us get triggered? So, so these are things that we actually need to practice.
Yeah, and I think also talk about, right? Because I think these are excellent questions to talk about with your partner.
Right. But if we're then single for many, many years, it's easy to lose those more sophisticated skills, or also
Mhm.
dating skills if we haven't dated in a long time,
Yeah.
because we interact with our friends and family usually on a different level.
Yeah, exactly. And we haven't even spoken about indeed entering into intimacy again.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
it's more than just sharing your body, it's also sharing your energy and, well, I think part of your soul.
Oh God, and this whole intimacy piece, there's so much we could say about that. Um, but okay, yeah, on the topic of, because you mentioned the soul, so vulnerability. I've read that we are really in danger of not losing it entirely, but more and more people struggle to be vulnerable.
Hmm.
And
Yes.
that's partly due to all the screens that we're constantly behind. Um, with the dating apps, and you can be in Facebook groups where you meet someone, but you're always safely hidden behind a screen,
Yes.
and you can always quickly also ghost someone or cut things off because something hit a bit too close to home, right?
Yes.
But Barbara, if that's okay, I would actually like to come back to the sexuality piece,
Yeah.
which is part of intimacy, of course.
Yes, for sure.
Because especially for women, I think what a lot of women might not be aware of is as we get older and we're in this stage before menopause, and that can already start like in our mid-30s, that our body starts to change, our cycles start to change, that we really have to make an effort and focus on how can we stay sexually active, and how can we keep up also the joy that we get from sex, because it's not self-evident. And I think we need a lot more communication and education in that area. Fortunately, there's now more and more out there. And I would
Hmm.
encourage every woman who listens to this um, to, if you haven't already, read up on that, inform yourself, listen to podcasts, because I find that is such an important topic that gets
Yes,
often neglected. And we think that, oh, sex is like riding a bike, right? Even if I haven't had it for 10 years, when the right person comes along,
it'll work. Yeah.
it'll work, and it'll be wonderful. And we don't think about the fact that it might actually be painful.
Hmm.
And then what?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, one of the things I see a lot in my acupuncture practice is men who have erectile problems, and that is also the men version of, well, you never think about it because it used to be you only had to have half a thought in that direction. I was ready to go, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden that's not happening anymore. And for women, it doesn't work that way, but there are other ways in which we can experience similar things, and that's definitely something to think about because yeah, when we get older, there's no escaping that. That's just what's happening. And the other things that we are noticing, that we cannot do an all-nighter as easily anymore without paying a high bill, or that our body starts protesting when we're shuffling on our knees in the yard the entire day, or other things that come with age. This is definitely one of them. And especially what you said is true. If you've been by yourself for a long time and you stopped being intimate with someone in a period where everything was still young and functioning as you knew, then it could be different after 10 years.
Yeah. Um, so that's just something to be aware of. I don't want to scare anyone here, but awareness is always key.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And it doesn't have to mean that something's going on. I also know plenty of people for whom nothing is going on. So, no, you definitely do not have to be scared. But it is something to consider and to think about. And for, especially, I think, for women who've had children, what I'm hearing is that a lot of them also have body issues, already cannot look at themselves naked, and usually naked is required to have sex with someone. So then that first moment, right, where you have to show your vulnerability, your nakedness
Oh,
to
well,
another human.
um, I think especially for us women, being comfortable with our own body, oh, that is such a big thing.
Yes.
And I can't see any scenario where we can ever fully enjoy sex and really, connect with our partner and get out of our head if we are not comfortable with our body. So that is an absolute must to pay attention to that and to be kind to ourselves and to also maybe redefine and rethink our standards. We
Well, yeah.
really, really don't have to look like the models in the commercials.
Or
Um,
like you did when you were 20. No.
no, and it's really changing our thinking around that and appreciating our bodies for the job that they're doing for us
Mhm.
and being really good to our bodies, thinking more in terms of, okay, what serves me and my body, in terms of diet and exercise and so on. And when you're really good to yourself like that, then I think it also changes your perception because you feel better.
Yes. Yes, and so it starts with feeling worthy. Loving yourself and feeling worthy of your own love and feeling worthy of taking really good care of yourself, because that's the only way that you will. If you are still struggling with your self image or your self worth, your self acceptance, all the selves, then it's going to be very difficult.
And you know what an interesting piece here is? We have to do these things for ourselves. So things like acts of self-care, okay? That I make myself a salad with some seeds and I don't know, nuts, whatever is healthy, just for myself. Not because I want to impress someone, not because my dietitian told me to, for myself.
Hmm.
And
Exactly.
also, I go and I go for a walk. It's for myself. And so by every day doing acts where I signal to myself, I'm looking after myself. I am that important to myself.
Hmm.
This is actually how we build trust in ourselves, that we are worthy, like you say, of the good things, of kindness, of respect. We
Yes.
deserve to be valued. And this is then how we can attract a partner who also values us and who is kind to us.
Yes.
Like if we can't do it with ourselves first,
No, we need to value ourselves and treat ourselves like the king or queen that we are in order to attract someone who also does that. Because if you don't value yourself and you don't see yourself as valuable, how can you expect somebody else to see or treat you that way? It's difficult.
and then actually going back to something that you mentioned, when we consistently do that and we trust ourselves that I will always look after me and I'm interested in my own self-development and I invest time and effort here every day, then we attract such people to us.
Yes.
So then this question of, are there even any men out there who are interested in their spiritual development and who want to grow as a person, who do yoga and all that kind of stuff, it becomes irrelevant because we attract them by living like that.
Exactly. And that also means that we don't have to go looking for them. We don't have to join every dating site or dating app or whatever to find our partner. When we focus on being what we want to attract, then that person will come into our life.
Um, I would say yes and no to that. So generally, absolutely yes. Law of attraction is a thing. But as usual, and we know this from other areas of our lives, whether that's fitness or business, when we want to speed something up, so if you want to attract the right partner faster, then there are ways of being strategic about that. And that can be joining apps and, you know, finding groups where you share the same interests and so on, or speed dating or whatever it is. Of course, here it's important to find the right tools and strategies that are aligned with who we are and who we're looking for.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. But yeah. On the one hand, yes, for sure. And on the other hand, I've also personally experienced it and seen it with lots of my friends that when you're not ready for it and you go on a dating site, then it becomes a very disappointing experience that you feel you could have done without.
Look, again, I would like to draw a parallel to the world of work, that if you are not ready for your dream job or even just for a job, it can be very daunting. It's just that in love and relationships, we often just assume because we want to be with someone, we're ready.
Yes, I want it, so it must happen.
And we skip the preparation stage.
Yes.
And I think that's also because a lot of people don't actually know, well, how should I prepare?
No, or don't know how to be enough for themselves, how to be by themselves and already
Right.
create a life that's worth living, that you love living.
Right. Um, and there's so much we can do, and there are so many things that we should check actually, which, you know, it becomes like with any other goal, something that is relatively simple to do once you know how. Then you can
Yes.
basically check the steps, yeah,
Yeah.
of your list. And somewhere it might get challenging, okay, but when you know you're doing the right things and you're moving closer to your goal, then you have the motivation and the momentum to go through that. I always say that dating is a marathon.
On a sprint, yes.
Yeah, and with the right tools though, and the preparation, of course you can do it.
Hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. So I am hoping that you out there that has been watching and listening to us talk about this incredibly important topic, that you have been nodding along and that you have definitely recognized some, if not a lot, of the things that we talked about today. And if that happened, then I would love to hear about it. So leave us a comment below this video. And I can also imagine that you think, I need to talk to Sibylle because I want to change something. I finally want to meet the right person and I need some help. So, where can they find you, Sibylle?
Yeah. So I have a website. I don't know if it makes sense to put that in the chat here or.
No, but I will make sure that I share the link that you mentioned in the description below the video so that people can
Perfect.
easily find it.
So that's loveinyourlifecoach.com. Um, I'm also on LinkedIn and post there regularly. And that's Sibylle Ansley on LinkedIn, Facebook as well. So that's how you can find me.
Perfect. Like I said, I will make sure that every link that Sibylle just mentioned will be included in the description below this video so that if you want to reach out to her, there are many ways in which you can do it to make it easy. And I would highly encourage you to reach out to Sibylle because she knows what she's talking about. And sometimes we just need someone to hold up the mirror and to help us get some clarity on things that we might inadvertently be doing to sabotage our own happiness without us being aware of it, right?
Oh, well said. Absolutely.
Yes. And so if you feel like Sybil can help you, reach out to her. If you want to discover who you really are and work on yourself with me, then you know how to reach me. All of it will be in the description below this video. If you were new to this channel, then thank you for watching this first for you episode of the podcast. I would love it if you would subscribe and maybe hit the notification bell so you never miss another video again. And for right now, I want to thank you, Sybil, very much for being here, for being such a wonderful guest and sharing your knowledge, because people needed to hear this. And I want to thank everybody else for being here, for listening, for your support for this channel and this podcast always. And I wish everybody a really, really great rest of their day.
Thank you, Barbara. It's been a pleasure.
Likewise.